Chengli and the Silk Road Caravan, Chapter 13. Hojinius returned to Chengli, riding his light gray horse and leading a dark brown one. Behind each saddle he had fastened a leather pouch. Chengli stood waiting, holding his small pile of caravan clothes, his only possession. "Caravan boy!" Mother called. She ran out from the yurt, talking all the while and tugging at Chengli's pile of clothes, taking them and stuffing them into the travel pouch. Then she turned him around and made him put on a coat of black and tan stripes and new tall boots of soft padded leather. She pushed onto his head a hat with two flaps that could be rolled down over his ears when the weather turned cold. Fox fur lined the entire hat. She stepped back, hands on hips, and grinned at Chengli. Hojinius nodded his approval, his uncombed hair bouncing in rhythm. "Except for your long hair pulled up in its top knot," he said, "you can now pass as my younger brother." Whitebeard, followed by 3 of the sheep, came from behind the yurt and raised his arm in blessing. "Ride with the power of eagles," sounded in Chengli's ears as he mounted and followed Hojinius from the settlement. "Hojinius," Chengli called ahead as their horses headed up the mountain, "I'm going to miss the sheep, but I really don't like horses." "Don't worry, caravan boy. I'll teach you as we go. Soon you will ride like Kazakh-born mountain boy." Day after day they made their way westward. Even without heavily loaded camels, their progress was slow. They never went over level ground. There wasn't any. They rode up one mountainside and down another, out over rolling meadows and then through a deep forest. Everything was new to Chengli. Hojinius rode beside Chengli, teaching him to ride while yelling instructions and encouragement. Hojinius taught him to relax in the saddle, to go limp and let his body shake up and down like a pea on a drum. It felt strange, but Chengli's muscles stopped aching. Gradually, Chengli gained confidence and lost his fear of the horse. The rough mountain terrain held no more surprises. At night he and Hojinius slept wrapped in their blankets, and during the day they moved slowly westward. "Once we get over that distant ridge," called Hojinius, "we will be at the next settlement." He stopped his horse and turned to face Chengli. "They are the relatives of my mother, and I will leave you with them. I will return home. My cousin Tokta will take you farther west. I will miss you, caravan boy." Chengli gazed at Hojinius. He understood he was to be handed over to someone new at each settlement, and they would guide him on to the next over and over, but he didn't like the idea. He kicked his horse and trotted ahead, turning his back on Hojinius. "I don't want to be with new people all the time," he yelled over his shoulder. "I'll have to explain about the princess over and over and over." He rode his horse in circles, fuming under his breath. Suddenly he turned and rode back to Hojinius. "Do they know I'm coming?" he asked. "Of course. News travels, you know," Hojinius said. "I don't want—" Chengli looked away and kicked at his horse again. "Never mind," he called out. "Come on, let's go." The next valley opened before them, but instead of a settlement, they saw only one single yurt sitting in a clearing surrounded by towering trees. 2 grazing cows, a barking dog, and a horse tied to a tree were the only signs of life. But as they rode into the clearing, a tall, energetic bear of a man came running out to greet them. "Welcome, caravan boy. I am Tokta. My family has moved down mountain for the winter, and I alone stayed to greet you. I have news for you." He grabbed Hojinius and held him at arm's length. "You've grown old, cousin," he roared. He then turned to grab Chengli. "And you, caravan boy, look young enough for Hazza the bandit to eat in one bite." Chengli pulled back, but Tokta slapped his thighs and laughed loudly at his own joke. "What is your news, cousin?" Hojinius asked. Tokta immediately turned serious. "The band that you look for has camped for the winter near the trade route that comes up from the desert city of Kashgar, over these mountains and down into the northern flatlands," he said. "They have more than one prisoner. I am not sure what that means, but I've been thinking that this one is adventure I don't want to miss." Tokta clenched his fists, swung around, and began playfully pummeling his cousin. "Think of it! A caravan boy will try to outwit Hazza, king of bandits." "Are you sure you want to be there?" Chengli asked. He grinned as he watched Tokta's frantic fist fight. "Do you want to watch them carve me up and eat me for dinner?" "Now we must be serious, boy." Tokta's voice calmed, and he looked down at Chengli. "Hazza is a dangerous enemy. He is famous for his daring. He is the only one I know who would dare steal a royal princess." "Cousin," Hojinius interrupted, looking at Tokta, "your idea is a good one. Staying with our caravan boy, I mean. We can joke about Hazza while we are far from him, but when we get near it won't be a joke. I, too, think this is an adventure to be remembered. I am not needed at home during the winter. Let us both stay with our caravan boy and see who will win this contest." Thinking often of the powerful bandit, Hazza, and what he might do once they met up with him, Chengli rode with Tokta and Hojinius westward through the heavenly mountains. Mile after mile fell behind them, and still they rode westward. Every few days they reached a new settlement, and always someone had a bit of news to guide them closer to Haza. And then one night as they slept, autumn abruptly turned into winter. Snow fell all through the night, and the next and the next. Snow hid the paths, and winds whistled down the gullies, pushing through the forests. Chengli and his friends struggled through snowdrifts and slid across frozen streams. When raging storms blocked their travel, they stayed snug in friendly yurts for days or weeks. Chengli complained to the mountain spirits that kept the nights long and dark and the days filled with blinding snow. He paced back and forth in the small circle of the yurt. "We will lose her if we stay here any longer," he grumbled. He tried to help with winter chores, but every task was interrupted by his complaints about the enforced wait. "We cannot travel in this weather," said Hogenius, "but neither can Haza. Calm your thoughts, Caravan boy." Chengli listened, but kept on prodding them to continue with their search. Hogenius finally lost his patience. "Silence! Your persistence is beating against my head and giving me a headache." Chengli swallowed his eagerness and apologized. "It's no use, is it, hammering against the weather?" He set himself to work, bending soft branches and tying them into snowshoes. He whittled at stakes that would hold up a new tent, but every day he thought about Mei Ling or Haza, or both. Finally, the approaching spring warmed the air. The blanket of snow retreated into patches, and Hogenius agreed it was time to move on. The second day on the trail, a rider came toward them. Chengli gasped. A brightly colored jacket lay fastened against the back of the man's saddle. "Look!" Chengli whispered to Hogenius. "That's Master Fong's jacket, the one with the scorpions on it. Hogenius, it's from my caravan." Hogenius motioned for Chengli to be quiet and turned his attention to the approaching rider. The stranger spoke first. "News has reached us that you will not want to hear," he said. "Haza's band will host the annual spring gathering of all nomads. The families are eager to come. They have much to barter, trade, and much news to share. It's Haza's turn this year to be the host, and, bandit though he is no threat to his own people. This may be good for you, for the gathering will force Haza to stay in one place long enough for you to catch up with him. But when it's over, he plans to head north over the mountains to sell his prisoners in a northern land where no one will recognize them or try to save them." "Sell them!" Chengli burst out. "My princess came from the great imperial palace. She cannot live. I know she cannot live. If she is someone's slave." Chengli turned from the messenger to Tokta. "Let's go," he begged. "I've got to find her." He yanked on the reins and his horse reared up. "No!" yelled Hogenius. "Stop!" Chengli felt the muscles in his face pull into knots. "I can't wait," he cried. "I've got to find her before it's too late." Hogenius reached out and caught hold of Chengli's horse. "Caravan boy, if you move without thought, you too will be a prisoner of Haza. Think first." Chengli didn't want to listen, but Hogenius's grip left him no choice. He rode beside Hogenius and slowly grew calm. "What will you do?" asked Tokta. "Just ride in there and say, 'I've come for the princess'? To go without a plan is not brave. It is reckless and foolish." Chengli didn't answer. When they stopped that evening to make camp, Chengli remembered the stranger's words. "What's a gathering?" he asked. "The clans get together to trade things and hear the latest news," answered Tokta. "It's a time of seeing friends and relatives. There will be crowds of people, hundreds of them, with their horses and their children. There will even be a horse race for the young people. For the men, there will be a contest on horseback, the dispute of the goat," said Hogenius. "The skin of a dead goat is stuffed with straw, and each man tries to capture the goat and carry it to the flag." "The game needs many riders," said Tokta, "and no one wants the game to end. They will grab the goat and never let it get near a flag. They tackle, grab, beat, and swing from one horse to another, back and forth, till men and horses are all exhausted." Chengli listened and tried to imagine the excitement. "It will be hard in the crowd," he said, "to find my princess. Whitebeard said I must have a plan, but I think and I still have no plan." "Wait, Caravan boy," Tokta advised. "Wait until you see the valley and the people. Some plan will come to you." "I've been thinking," Chengli said. "If we get all this news about Haza, doesn't he get news about me?" "Probably." What will he do?" "He will laugh, Caravan boy," Tokta said as he poked at the campfire. "He will say, 'What can one caravan boy do against Haza the Great?'" Chengli looked at Tokta. Tokta looked at the fire. "Then what?" Chengli asked. Tokta sat silently and then opened his large palms, looking puzzled. "I don't know." Chengli sat fidgeting as the silence lengthened. "Maybe," he said, "maybe Haza won't recognize me." He will watch for a boy from the Middle Kingdom. I dress like a Kazakh. I ride like a Kazakh. You still have long hair tied on top of your head like all the men of Middle Kingdom. That will give you away. Then cut it off. Chengli reached up and untied his top knot. His long hair fell below his shoulders. Now? Now! Tokta reached for his dagger and chopped at Chengli's hair, fluffing it to match the short, tangled curls of Hojanius. Now you are no longer Caravan boy. You are our little brother. And I'm ready for Haza. Let's go. Hojanius nodded. But first, before we get our blankets, I have something for you. He went to his pack and pulled out a bundle. Here, he said. Return this to your master when you see him again. His jacket. How did you get his jacket? Chengli grabbed the jacket and faced Hojanius. This jacket had been tied to the stranger's horse. Either Hojanius had bought it, not very likely, or somehow he had stolen it right off the horse. They think stealing is a game, Chengli thought, but stealing is just wrong. Why couldn't you bargain for it? Chengli asked. Why did you have to steal? He stamped his foot and accidentally smashed his toe against a log. Kicking the log out of his way, he threw Master Fang's jacket onto the ground. I don't want this, he hissed. I didn't steal in the desert, and I won't steal now. His voice rose and cracked. He banged his fist against Tokta's chest, harder and harder. I lost my best friend because I wouldn't steal with him. His fists kept pounding. My father was an inspector, he gasped. An honest inspector. He never stole anything. Anything! His fist stopped pounding and locked around Tokta's belt. He peered into Tokta's dark eyes and screamed, I am his son! With a sob, Chengli let go of Tokta's belt and sat down hard on the ground. He tightened his lips and stared at his own feet. No one moved. The campfire flickered. Well, you are a strange one, Tokta said calmly as he picked up the jacket. It is something to think about before you find your princess. If you take from someone a thing they took from someone else, are you stealing or rescuing it to give it back? Think what has happened to the jacket. Someone stole it. Then they sold it. Then I took it. I took it from someone who shouldn't have had it to return it to its original owner. You say that I stole it, and if it bothers you so much, you must think more deeply about your princess. When you find her, will you be rescuing her or stealing her from Haza, who now owns her? He paused to let his words sink in. You'll need to know your answer before you find your princess.